My disclaimers first. I'll explain a bit more. But I've not been working recently, and it's amazing. No.
Can't tell Trey.
Not my fault. It's amazing how your confidence goes when you haven't done it in a while. But nonetheless, but I've got these for today as well. So this one unexpected. So I'll click on because you've got. I didn't know you were going to get the live version. Or is it the other way? Okay. So this is us and all our quirks. We should have brought Mario, thinking ahead, but there you go. But I didn't think that far ahead. So Mario's a autism assistance dog for Rowan. And whoever else. Yeah, and whoever else he senses needs a bit of help if he's around them. Yeah, and very good at giving hairs onto people. And I've got this as a bit of a memory sake because one of my anxieties was I'm going to forget everything I'm going to say. So I'm going to go back to the old school and bit of paper. So anyway, so that's us. We've all come to discover we're on our own acceptance journey. I self-identify as autistic. I'm not diagnosed, but I think probably going to pursue it soon, just for the sort of sake of we all say we're a little autistic family, don't we? Anyway, so I've done the wrong way. It's a good start. Okay, right. So a little bit about me. Where do I start? So. I'm a mum, first and foremost, beyond anything, I brought them into the world, and as much trouble as they caused me, that's my first job. So as much as it's not in any particular order, that one probably is. I suppose key things, if you probably already know about me, you may have seen me on social media already, maybe, or even perhaps troublemaking in the news, I don't know. I coordinate Send National Crisis Worcestershire, and we generally try and make Worcestershire County Council do what they need to do. I won't say much more about that for today, but happy to chat anytime. Dogs are good. That's a random. So I'm a I'm also a qualified assistance dog team leader because we have to be. So Rowan and I are a team with the dog, and you have to do qualifications and everything. So. But yeah, I suppose generally just a bit about me as well. I'm a sandwich carer, so I also care for my older parents. My dad has dementia, not that he recognises, and various other things, leukemia, he has a peg feed, and that typical kind of drawn in many different directions, and life can be really stressful. The other key thing, which is hence this little blighter, which I'm very keen to talk to people about as well. So I have chronic Lyme disease, so not as famous as Shania Twain or Justin Bieber, but I have chronic Lyme disease, and it is in this country, and it does affect people, and I will get that message out there as well. So it does affect my cognition, and my fatigue is quite bad, so if I do have some word finding difficulties, that's my disclaimer. Right, so we're going to go through Rowan's journey, because that's, I guess, why we're here today. He's certainly not had the most straightforward journey, as many of us haven't. So we started off preschool. I suppose the main memory for me is collecting him, and he was hidden under the table, and they didn't quite know what that was all about, but they just, he was just a bit tricky. Masked excellently from from day one, didn't fit the generic stuff. I still remember in the diagnostic sort of stuff we had to do it all kind of backwards, but them saying, he's very much like a female style autism, he masks, and it was like, well, he just masks. So the learning curve started. So Rowan started in mainstream first school. Needs were handed over from preschool, as much as they didn't really know what it was. They had some clues there was things going on, but of course at the time school believed they knew better. We from the beginning were very proactive. We had meetings with them, sort of trying to sort of stop things from falling apart, but it was again, he's fine, he's absolutely fine. School refusal started, and then lo and behold, so we're first term of year one, and placement broke down all of a sudden catastrophically, and then Rowan was out of school for 19 months, and we were at that point as well where, not that often things are provided now, but there certainly wasn't there. It was truly abandoned, and we had no diagnosis, there was no recognition of his needs whatsoever. You know, the usual, I found out that I'd been referred to social services, you know, the usual drill. It's obviously mum. So 19 months, we're at school, we muddled through. I think looking back, we found trains, I think, during that period, hence t-shirt. But we didn't really know that was going to be the big interest then, but we muddled through, and Rowan taught himself to read and write pretty much when he could be bothered, and type and all the rest of it, and you wouldn't really know, to be honest, and made me very proud just getting by. But of course the trauma, as we've mentioned, the trauma was very much there, but I didn't necessarily know it at the time, I should say. So I'm an OT by background. My main expertise was mental health. Obviously Dad had a bit of a brain injury and stuff, but I suppose that it drove me absolutely nuts of this kind of like autism equals mental health, not that actually the system and everything else makes it worse. You know, it's not, you don't start off life with these things. So anyway, so we're out of school, 19 months, and then we finally, after a big fight with legal help, lots of independent evidence needed, a hell of a lot of money. Russ was here, I'm sure I could share his pride and joy because his special interest is cars. He sold his classic Porsche to fund it, gutted as it was, but it got us where we thought we needed to be at the time. Our once solicitor at the time was in the room, now doing a totally different job, which I can imagine is very understandable to a lot of us. We all know what the system's like, and even with those representing us drives you slowly mad. So he starts an independent specialist school. I suppose we had an inkling of hope back, an inkling. However, fast forward just 10 months, all the promises they made to us at the beginning that we'll only change things if we need to, we'll only do this, that and the other, they didn't. And they completely broke his trust by just changing loads of stuff, didn't give him any warning, and then of course child blamed that it's his fault for not, you know, coping. So, and just as an aside, Rowan has seen all these slides and he knows, and we've discussed about whether it's triggering for him, but he wanted me to share it. So we're at school again. We're another year this time. There wasn't really much sort of that I felt was going to be suitable. We just kind of went with the flow. We knew the drill by this point, sadly, and we found our own groove, and we just took all the pressure and the demands off him anyway, and just kind of, you know, found, like I say, Rowan's a bright lad anyway, and there's, as you said, that intrinsic motivation is always there, and he found stuff that he wants to learn anyway and did it. Finally, as sort of time went on, another setting that was quite local to us started to emerge as another possibility, so we looked into it. So he started their second specialist setting, and it felt like at the time like it was exactly what we've been waiting for all this time. There was animals on site, it was all outdoor based, it was, if the right staff were involved, it was very sort of low demand, very sort of led by the child, one-to-one, and we were kind of doing okay. The complication, of course, he started during lockdown. Everything was a bit, you know, everyone was bubbled and it was a bit different, and then all of a sudden things went back to normal, so we had a little blip, but nonetheless we were coming through, and he settled, started building real bonds, and then last summer, just before the summer break, I got a call from the head teacher who really got it. He was one of these unique people that you come across who did get it in a setting, to say that he was going off to do some research in the field. So thank goodness, probably that will also contribute because it's a very similar vibe. But nonetheless, I knew in that moment, you get that feeling in your stomach, and I was thinking, oh God. And lo and behold, the new head teacher came in, she had a very different idea about how things were going to be, removed provision from his EHCP, just like that, didn't care that it was breaching the law, didn't care. So, surprise, surprise, we're out of school again. However, this time, I'm going to go back a minute because that's complicated. I knew who just to call, and it happened all very quickly. So I guess we'll get to that in a minute. But this ties in. Who was saying? Lee, I think, drawing connections between everything. It's been really interesting watching all the different ones. I guess with my OT hat on, there's a particular model that always sort of spoke to me, a model of practice that was so crucial, and it used to really, really bug me when talking to various different people involved with SEND, that they just didn't value the importance of the environment. Yeah. That it was like, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll just give them a one-to-one TA, or we'll just get... But none of that would necessarily alter the core, especially the physical environment, and if they can't cope with it, then they can't cope with it. And certainly that's the journey we went down with Maeve, who incidentally is thriving now, because she's in the right place. Tiny little setting, I'll give them a little shout out, Ribbon Hall in Bewdley, because it's just brilliant. 4 kids, little in a semi-detached house, and it's just brilliant. So the environment is really crucial, and so this the person, environment, occupation model. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's just about understanding how those things interact, and sort of what we would call your occupational performance. So your occupations being your, if you like, your daily activities, whatever it is that you would be doing. They would sort of mix together in a fit as such to enable you or not. And if you like, this is kind of where things are good. So this is perhaps Maeve doing well, environment's right, she's starting to feel more comfortable, she's starting to feel less anxious, and all and then also all the occupational things that she's doing. They do interest-led activities, they mix things up with going out and about and everything. So this section, this core bit in the middle, is getting bigger and bigger. But then if you like, you're trying to squeeze them into the wrong setting, you start getting, and sooner or later that middle bit just starts to disappear. 100%. So that always sort of really spoke to me about, and it sort of links in so nicely with all that kind of stuff, that you just can't expect anything different. It's just ridiculous to think that you can. So this was right, okay, I've said that I'm going to credit Maeve for this. So this was like a generic image that I found. Maeve was not happy with, it wasn't, Mum, I can't remove them, but it was like, this lady's got like stilettos on or something, and so we had to alter it. We did it together, put some boots on, and yeah, my mug shot at the top. But yeah, we knew that it was time for a change for all of us, to be honest. Much like some people have described, it affects the whole family when things aren't working for one of you. So I knew there needed to be something different about what we were going to do. I'd kind of toyed with EOTAS previously anyway, but there still felt like it needed to be more than that, because I'd always been a little bit scared of EOTAS for Rowan, because there was the risk, I suppose, that if it was just generic stuff and that was all was around, that probably wouldn't work either. So it had to be the right people and sort of that follow through. So I've watched some of Aaron's stuff previously, certainly been to the training with Lee before, and sort of been following it for a while. And I thought, I'm just going to add to it, because I'm not one for phone calls either, so you don't know how brave I was that day, thinking, I'm just going to phone Aaron. It probably won't pick up, so it'll be fine. So I was preparing my, what's the message I'm going to leave? And you picked up. And you were, I think it was only a few days later, wasn't it, you come round. And it felt like, I don't know, already, even from just making it, that you sort of choosing a different path. You're just starting to take a different, so I don't know, it's almost like a rebellion, isn't it, but against what the norm is, but nonetheless. So fast forward that we now have input from, well, Rowan's involved, it's the first look up, from Aaron and Jane, but also Daisy, who's one of the specialist teachers. And our kitchen gets regularly half destroyed on a Wednesday morning with various different science experiments. But the lovely thing is, I don't really care because Rowan hadn't done science for years before now. So, and I can hear the giggles coming from us as they're like trying to flood it, or I don't know, something like that. But it's lovely, really lovely. And learning was a word and school that we couldn't use in our house for years. And you just hate them. They used to almost be triggering in that instant. But now it's starting to creep back in, which is lovely. So I'm just going to give you some examples, I guess, of sort of applying this. So the 4 foundations, I suppose, very easily. So we take away the stress. I mean, first and foremost, it was absolutely, for us, it was, Rowan, you never have to step foot into a school ever again if you don't want to. Wow. That was us. You know, it might not be exactly that for everyone, but that was, you know, my goodness, has he tried his best. Yeah. And if he decides in the future that that's for him again, and we haven't, then so be it, but certainly not right now. It's, you don't have to participate, you don't have to, whoever's coming, or assessments, or if it's just too much, then we work a plan out and we do something else. You don't have to leave the house, you don't have to speak, you don't have to attend. But thinking also about what people were saying earlier about going beyond, actually, when you take the expectations away. I didn't tell him to come today. No, he wanted to come, wanted to be here, and that was completely his choice. And apparently this one, although it's a snow day, technically, isn't it, because your school's closed, but you could have stayed at home. Yep. So ultimately, for us, it's really about giving him back that autonomy and control that he's never really had. He's got so much to contribute, and it's never really been recognised because they're too busy trying to make him fit into something he doesn't fit into. So the "it's going to be okay" thing, I think, is Aaron. It was obviously part of the mantra, but we were kind of already luckily doing that. I still remember the weekend and sort of following, because it was like a bit of a roller, because we had like an emergency review and various different things. We kind of knew what was coming, and we were just very much like, do you know what, we'll be all right. Yeah, we'll work it out, because it's got to be better than going through this roller coaster all the time. So we were kind of already there, and then I guess that kind of bottom line fits into the "I'm with you 100%." We just sort of said to him, well, you know, you're in charge now. Yeah. Actually, he's now 11, and he's got some ideas on what he wants to do, and so far whatever the education system's tried to do to him, it's not worked anyway. So we just sort of said we'll just go with it. We'll see where it takes us, and you know, we've got his back. So that's the mantra anyway. But I have to say, I don't know if you're going to do it for us, but Rowan was very good with the final one of "it's not your fault." I think you were getting just as good at quoting it at Aaron than you were sort of having it back at you. It's so important that just understand that, because the build-up of trauma and that internalising, especially for the maskers, you know, it's just immense, and I think even down to, as we said, us parents as well, because that gets drummed into you as well, that it must be something you're doing. And I suppose that's what drives me into doing, as much as it's really stressful sometimes. The support, I run a support group locally, and it really is just trying to hammer home to other parents in the same situation that it's not them. And you know, that kind of thing, the services that kind of make you feel like you're going crazy sometimes, of trying to, you know, once you're amongst other people that get it, that goes away. But yeah, still. So the outcome is a very happy lad. Of course, like, it's not like, you know, everything's magically sort of gone away. Of course, we still have life, and we still, you know, have little blips and everything. But my goodness, would I say, you're happier? Yeah.
Well, I've got wine, but that's when I made Brussels sprouts in the kitchen.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have done stuff like that before. I'm not saying it's like miraculous that you've gone and cooked a 3-course meal, Rome, but you went, I'm going to do it myself. Yeah, but you had the capacity to do it, because it was better during the day. So whereas before, if you even in your last setting where it was a bit better, you still would come in and hide for hours because of what it took from you. So Oh, you're giving it away.
No, I was just getting it ready.
So the ultimate, and this is going to be a bit of a plug as well. So Rowan is working on a YouTube channel for his passion of trains with Aaron. Thank goodness, because I wouldn't have a clue where to start. He's very professional. And this is his first episode. We haven't formally put it up publicly yet, but it will hopefully soon when Rowan feels ready to do it. And we're hopefully going to do more.
Rowan, what is a railhead treatment train?
This is a leaf. When it falls onto the track, lots of rain goes on it, goes all mushy on the track. Then there's a train and it sprays water on the track at high pressure, cleaning it off the track to keep the leaves off of the line. Thank you for watching my first YouTube video.